Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice-a-week long-form podcast, you guys, because I want to put the right information out there from the people who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply, utilize, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's one of the many, many reasons why I probably fly this American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I'm going to help each and every one of you live yours as well. I got a guest on. He's going to be up in a second. You guys know him. He's literally my LTL expert. I go to him on everything, and we're going to kind of break down a lot of what is going on out there. And frankly, most importantly, what are you going to have to do, and what can you do with this to try and assist your customers in this time of transition and everything. But before we do anything, as always, got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub. You guys, vhubapp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or shipper, we all need access to trailers. And the best part, you get paid to move these trailers. That's right. That's on top of the revenue that you can get by loading these trailers out. You get paid to do this as well. And this is just going to help you offset some of these costs. And then furthermore, you can create an enterprise level sales solution out there for your customers now. So what they're working on is they got a bunch of trailers out in San Diego, you guys, going to multiple locations throughout the United States. It ranges anywhere from $1,100 to $2,200 per trailer, you guys. They got some roll-up vans needing to get out to New Hampshire. And they also have some standard 53-foot swing doors needing to go to Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, Texas, you name it. And then they also have 136 trailers out in Paragould, Arkansas, needing to get up to Mississauga, Ontario, paying $736 US. And then again, you don't have to just have a shipper in Paragould, right? Like you can bring them down to Memphis, maybe over to Nashville. They just got to end up in the Mississauga area. So hit them up, you guys, vhubapp.com. My friends Zach Lonergan and Stacy Steen, they'll be in the audience. Just do me a favor. Let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Tracy St. Clair and Papa Bear in a chair. That just rhymed. I had to say it like that. They're watching over on YouTube. Good morning, Sunny Sharma. Let's go. Fancy hair today. Yeah. I'm not wearing a hat today. That is because I'm actually going on site to visit a prospect here later on today. So I didn't want to, I'm trying to be efficient with my time, you guys. I'm trying to be efficient with my time. Good morning, Lori. Cole, what is up? New cut, looking good. Yeah, man, I do have salon quality hair, you guys. I just choose to wear a hat most days because that's what I do out there. Anthony, what is going on? All right, he's drinking his coffee, so I'll wait for him to stop drinking his coffee, and then I'll pull him back up. You guys know who he is. He's been on a bunch of times. Gabe, what's up, dude?
Good morning. Salon quality hair. I haven't heard that one, so I'm going to have to rep that for sure. I will remember you for that. How's it going this morning?
Oh, man, it's going great. It's going great. There's just a lot of shit going on, man. It's been a busy week for me, which, in my company, which is good, was able to help accommodate a very, very unforeseen situation for a customer of mine. I won't get into the details on it yet until it's all said and done, but I'll walk through. And again, like we talk about it all the time, so many people rely on price, right? Like, oh, hey, let me, quote on some loads. There's a lot of shit that comes up, man, that if you can't accommodate it, for me, it's like, man, you gotta be willing to, take a play off and put them in the right direction. Because there's a lot of real shit that goes on in this industry, man.
It's almost like you're actually moving freight each day too, as you talk about it. It's almost like that.
Yeah, I know. I'm not just I do have a day job. I don't just talk shit into a mic all day. I mean, I do talk shit most of the day, but I do know how to move a couple of truckloads here and there.
Awesome.
Oh man. Flo, what's up? Tony Darnell, who does not need drayage at all. He says, what's up, Gabe?
What's up, Tony?
Dude, so talk to me, man. Okay, I got to say this. Gabe, and well, maybe not Gabe, but the Rocket Shipping social media team posted a very timely clip of 12 months ago when a certain individual who may or may not be sitting in front of you guys all right now literally called this.
Yeah, we came up on it was a TikTok that we had posted, but
Yeah.
I used to do a segment called Market Update Monday, and we were last year pontificating and speculating about capacity and is there a freight recession, and the Fed had started rate hikes and all of that. But I said in the video, I said, well, nobody's talking about it, but it's coming down the pike, is that the Teamsters contracts are all going to be up and there's going to be potential strikes. And I said in the video, there'd be no better time for drivers to demand better pay or higher wages and better hours. And turns out I thought it would be TFI and ABF struggling with it, and it turned out it was Yellow. And so that's not the only reason that Yellow is filing bankruptcy, but that was the final nail in the coffin, so to speak. So
Yeah.
TikTok reminded us it was a year ago.
No, definitely. It's, for me, it's, I got to, because like I don't know, the first couple of articles that I read, I was kind of like, I'm not a fan of the union. So anybody who watches my shit can fucking see that. But I was more blaming the Teamsters in the early articles than I should have, so I got to call that out right now. I got caught up in the early headline stuff and formulated an opinion. But after the more and more that I read and I did more research, dude, it seems like the organization of Yellow has been a dumpster fire for quite some time. And the more and more information that came out, both like I had said, man, both parties are very much to blame for this. Very, very much to blame for this. But at the end of the day, we need to be as a leader. And dude, this is why, I love talking to you so much. And especially that post that you put up yesterday just kind of fucking fell into you being on the show today about being a leader and owning up to a lot of the shit that goes on out there. Because I mean, now it's like, you have the stuff going on with Yellow. I knew the Teamsters and UPS were going to settle on something and come to it. I knew that wasn't going to.
Yeah, that one would have been major. So
yeah, but when we're talking about Yellow, and then obviously with Surge, going on, there's a lot of people who have never founded a company before, who are sitting on the sidelines in all aspects of life, who are trying to put an opinion out there right now. And unless you've been in that situation before, or unless you have all your personal capital on the line, which you seemingly do with your companies.
I do.
It's always easy to Monday morning quarterback a lot of these situations, right? And be like, oh, I would have never done that. Fuck you. You can't say that unless you've been in the ring before, right?
Yeah, I think it's a unique perspective. Obviously with Surge, that didn't get much coverage because of Yellow, but I think that is a telling, story of the last 3 years of freight, especially in the truckload brokerage. From what it sounds like, Surge was one of the fastest growing truckload brokerages over the last 2 years, 2020, 2021. They rode the high of pandemic fueled truckload rates and spot and contract getting all out of whack. But, the cost pressures now, and, I don't think that probably, this is just conjecture, but probably the freight they had of that 150 million, they didn't have good margins on them. And when margins got tighter, they didn't have runway. So I don't know the story with Surge. I know a lot more about Yellow, but I do tend to think that there's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking going on Twitter and LinkedIn. And, I thought I'd give my perspective as somebody who's bootstrapping and cash flowing a truckload and LTL brokerage.
Dude, I'm right there with you, right? And that's kind of my whole thing is I can't sit here and judge, because I've never ran a $150 million company yet. I'll get there one day, and I'll let you guys know my decision making when I'm there one day. But as of right now, I can't sit here and formulate an opinion. All I know is the few conversations that I've had with Omar, the founder of Surge, was a phenomenal person to me. He was very nice to me. And that's my only interaction with him. I don't have an opinion on it otherwise, deeper than that. Besides, it sucks. I couldn't imagine being in that situation when your debts are far exceeding your actual capital in this situation. And there's people who are out of jobs in this situation.
Yeah, 44 or 45, I think. Yeah, maybe 43.
On top of that, but again, that money has to get repaid some way. And I couldn't imagine looking at that from the ground up, seeing how the fuck am I going to get out of this situation, right?
And
yeah, especially when the prospect of like the next quarter isn't exactly like, oh, we'll just hang on. And I think that's probably why they filed. I don't know. And I've never met Omar. I've seen his interviews. He sounds like a good guy, and he's built a really cool company for a while. He started in 2016. It's not like he just started it. And so an 8-year run with a truckload brokerage. I don't like to ever, say, hey, I would have done something different because I don't know that spot. We're not at 150 million either.
Yeah.
On the yellow side, or I guess before I say that, the one thing that I did post about and I think should be talked about is it's going to be so hard for those 43 employees and then the 22,000 employees from yellow to find work because nobody's hiring at high wages right now. And so we're having like a full employment recession type of thing. And, they might be able to get hired at another brokerage to help out, but they have to kind of start over in a different role, likely if they're a director or VP.
And that's what I want to know. And again, if this is out there already, I haven't looked into this, but what do the Teamsters do with these 22,000 employees? Are they going to continue to pay them? Do they continue to get their benefits? Are they going to place them at jobs? What actually happens here, right?
I think that like from what I understood was that if they went on strike, they couldn't then get unemployment. But because they never did strike, I believe they can get unemployment. That's one thing. The Central States Fund, and this is kind of nuanced, but the Central States Fund that did the deal on Sunday and said, hey, don't pay us, we'll extend it another 30 days to avoid that strike. They got bailed out in March by the Biden administration for $36 billion. So everybody's pension is still going to get paid to those longtime yellow lifers, right? So the pension fund was bailed out by the Biden admin. The yellow union and the labor and unemployment and how long they can collect and benefits, I have no clue. But I know the pensions are still good from what I've read.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting though, because again, out of those 22,000 people, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a percentage that are just going to choose early retirement or whatever that looks like. They're going to look at it and
take a break.
Yeah, but there is going to be a large group of people now where I just like, see, this is the shit that really fucking bothers me is it's like no high ranking union or no union rep is going to go without money. Like they're still going to do all their shit. Every yellow executive.
They just made their deal with ABF and UPS. Yeah. They're fine.
Every yellow executive is going to get their bonuses and going to get paid out and everything else. But like, and that's what I've been saying the last couple of days. What about all these workers, man, that are paycheck to paycheck? Like, again, inflation's a very real thing, no matter how the media tries to spin this shit. The average household is spending on average at least $10,000 more a year right now. A lot of people are paycheck to paycheck in a good economy, let alone this current situation. So it's like, those are the people that are affected by this. I personally think a lot of the drivers themselves will find work, right? I just feel like there's enough actual freight that's moving out there where people aren't going to turn away quality drivers by any stretch of the imagination. But there is going to be a percentage of that workforce that isn't going to be absorbed. But, so how are you guys handling this? Because like when this shit first started, like I texted Gabe instantly. I'm like, bro, this is a massive opportunity here for you. How are you working in kind of like what Andrew Teal had said, those customers who've asked to continue to use yellow? What are they saying now? What's your concerns? What are you hearing out there? And you guys, again, Gabe is the LTL guy out there. Like that's his company. He knows this industry better than fucking almost anybody I've talked to.
What Rocket is doing specifically, and it's hard not to see this as an opportunity. And, the analogy I'm using is almost like Braveheart, right? Like there's 50,000 shipments a day, not talking even about yellow, just that's how many they moved, right? So there's 50,000 shipments that have to move with somebody else. Likely those will all get sucked up by T-Force, XPO, probably Saya. I don't think R&L and ABF will be as affected. And then, basically what I saw coming and what will probably transpire is that those carriers will take that freight at a premium because they know they have the leverage, at least speculative leverage. And so brokers and TMS providers like Rocket, our goal is to get in front of as many customers as we can that, not only we're all in with yellow or just use them in part of the supply chain, but we're just using it as a theme of, hey, if you have all your eggs in one basket, you should be talking to Rocket and starting those conversations. In about 60 to 90 days, I believe the market will be kind of like a dry sponge. I think that all those 50,000 shipments are going to get sucked up pretty quickly, and the carriers are not going to notice the carnage that everybody's predicting. I think there's plenty of capacity for those shipments. And then things will get real competitive again. The carriers will start bidding that's where we will come in and say, hey, stick with us. Let us consult with you and help you through this part. But we'll go and get you new carriers and give you some, diversify your portfolio a bit. But at the end of the day, like, it's super touchy, right? Because 33,000 people lost their job, but there is 50,000 shipments a day that someone's got to move. And so my stance is like, if I can hire some of the Yellow sales reps, I will. And I hope that the union can take care of the rest. And we're going to go try to get to 50,000 shipments.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, man. I think that it's, you need to toe a fine line, right? Because the second you start slinging mud, and it's just like kind of what we let off the show with all the fucking Monday morning quarterbacks right now. Oh, I would have done this, or, everyone's got the perfect fucking plan. As Mike Tyson says, everyone's got a perfect plan until they get punched in the fucking face. But, when you're out there and you're selling into this chaos, you need to only focus on your company's capabilities. You do not need to bring up anything, right? You need to focus on the value that you're bringing to there, because, dude, I've seen it before, man. I've been out on the road, when you're wearing your company logo and people, who work for bigger companies try and big dick you and like, oh, who are you guys? Never heard of you guys. Shit, you don't need to fucking do any of that broke dick sales stuff, right? Like, you literally just need to focus in on how are you adding value to that customer? And frankly, how do you isolate them or insulate them, from even having to deal with a potential strike? Because like the funny thing about a lot of these unions is even if their contract's not up, they kind of like to fucking strike still. Pay attention to the last couple of years. A lot of shit's going on. So it's like, I would almost do the non-union push for all those non-union providers that are out there.
Yeah, I think part of it too is just like, you don't want to, come in there and like make a cold call and say, hey, don't know if you heard about Yellow, but if you need help, I got you. But you just use the themes of, diversifying portfolios, having more than one carrier option, having somebody in your corner, and using that. That's the value that a lot of brokers say they bring. It's time to talk about that value and transfer the certainty that you have in, being able to say, if you have all your eggs in one basket and you probably just got burned by that, you don't have to bring up that they were all in with Yellow or that they had exposure to it. In fact, I think the easiest sales right now will come from people who weren't using Yellow all in, stood on the sidelines and saw that happen, and they go, oh, we need to add a few options to our portfolio. We're not hurting, but if Rocket or another broker can bring us value by giving us some options, a lot of our customers, to answer Andrew's question, we were using Yellow up until last Thursday, right? And then we kind of throttled them on Friday. We turned them off. We didn't turn them back on Monday. We had one customer who did want them back on. They were using them directly. So of course we obliged for the TMS provider there. But most of our customers didn't, miss a beat because we prepared for it. And, the worst case scenario was we turned them off for 3 days and then they survived this strike and we turned them back on. I think that unfortunately some of the brokerages had Yellow turned on full volume on Monday. And there's, I know that there's one broker out there that has like 4,000 shipments in transit in their network with Yellow, one of the big 3PLs. All of those shipments are going to get delivered. I don't really think that'll happen. Whatever gets delivered by Friday will be, and then it's done. But I mean, that's a touchy piece too of like, who, where you're going to keep them turned on, where you're going to turn them off. Is the cost savings versus risk worth it? Andrew said revenues rise at alternative carriers. No, I mean, if to kind of put your point on that, Andrew, I think that by Thursday, Yellow normally shipped 50,000 shipments a day, and I think they only moved like 10,000 on Monday, right? And so most of the volume had already moved to the other carriers, and we, anecdotally, we didn't have any more missed pickups or damages, or anything like that in the last week. So I think there is capacity. But I think as a solutions provider, you just have to tell people what's going on. That I do think too, Chris, just because it's relevant to what you do and what I'm trying to do too, is nobody knew what was going to happen, but I think that people had PTSD from the last 4 times Yellow almost went bankrupt and then it didn't happen. So I do sympathize with the customers and clients and shippers who said, I'm going to stick with YRC or Yellow or Holland, because this has happened 4 times. Roadway, Yellow. I mean, they had to get bailed out by the government in 2020. A lot of people thought there was a white knight coming, and it didn't this time. But it was Boy Who Cried Wolf, and we kind of said, they'll figure it out.
I think personally, the white knight, and I've been saying this, I have no fucking proof of this, But the infrastructure of Yellow is extremely valuable. Their warehouse, their distribution network, their equipment is valuable. I could see now in bankruptcy court somebody coming in and swooping them up for pennies on the dollar. Our government loves to just turn a blind eye to all of. So I guarantee that $800 million that they got is going to be gone. The government's like, oh, that's fine, clerical error. Just we'll round it down. Don't worry about that. But I think that that's probably what's going to happen. My complete gut is Knight Swift is going to buy them in bankruptcy court for pennies on the dollar. That's just my gut. Again, I don't know jack shit. I know they're publicly traded. I'm trying to cover my own ass here. I don't know anything other than speculation based off of reading their earnings report, and that LTL was their only profitable business unit in Q2. So why not throw the fucking kitchen sink at it and buy out the existing network to help expand your portfolio, right? Because it's, again, whatever it sells for, a large company like that, they could raise fucking $2 million in one phone call, or $2 billion in one phone call, right? Like that's not going to be a big thing for somebody like that. I could see that happening. I don't see them being split up because who was it here? Trey Lincoln said that they Yellow owns Holland and Penn, and they own a bunch of other business units. I don't see them being split off at all. I think someone's going to come up and buy it all up. Or it could be an even darker horse of XPO. XPO has a fuckload of money. They have a bunch of financial connections. They are a standalone LTL provider. Now, with that, might make sense for them. Again, pure speculation. I don't know shit. I'm just throwing this out there.
Yeah, I mean, to corroborate some of that speculation, it would be Knight Swift bought AAA Cooper and Midwest Motor Express last year, I think. And so they have made it clear they're trying to buy LTL carriers that have regional reach. I mean, what better LTL carrier than one that owns 4 regional carriers? Holland, New Penn, USF right away, and then YRC was their kind of national carrier that covered, I would say, the West as their core area. But Knight Swift certainly could. I saw their Q2 earnings. They got plenty of money in their reserves. Old Dominion has a ton of money. That would be super dark horse. They don't need to buy anybody. They're the number 1 carrier, and their OR slid from 67 to 72. So they have all the money they want. XPO, my analysis on that is their OR is too high. They don't have enough wiggle room, and it's a risky buy. But I do think that, one thing that wasn't talked about is I called Yellow Fed Freight for the last couple of weeks here. Let's do it, Sonny.
Yeah,
I'll put in $1 million on a loan, and we'll see if we can get that $1.3 billion bought out. So.
Yeah, we'll try that. I'm right there with you.
Oh, man. No, that's the other thing is that, I think speaking of Yellow and how that's going to go, we were talking about, you're not a fan of the union, and I'm really not a fan of unions in general. I'm pretty small government, independent like that. But I would say that, Yellow could have, and they were buying market share. They were just dropping prices. I mean, anecdotally, I had 4 or 5 clients get new tariffs with Yellow this spring that were ridiculous, better than, Roadrunner. And they could have pulled that lever and said, we're going to downsize. We're going to become, Roadrunner, Central Transport, that type of carrier. But because of the union and fixed labor costs, they could not, and then, of course, you can talk about the union having it be their fault. But one of the things that I read earlier this week was that even in June, they had 50,000 shipments a day and they were burning $4 million a week. So they couldn't figure out how to be profitable. That's, all the other carriers in 2021 and 2022, Old Dominion had the biggest quarterly profits in company history, in any freight carrier's history, and Yellow didn't turn a profit in a quarter. So that was a sign of things to come.
Andrew Teal, he says he thinks it's bought at auction, not whole, unless you get out from under the debt. They're trading 50 to 60 cents. So what's that? 25, 30 million. The problem is that you owe 50 million to the pension and
1.3 billion next year.
Yeah. And I think that's what I mean, Andrews. I think a lot of that is just going to be, I don't know, looked at. And I think a lot of those details are going to go away, right? Like I think the union is going to probably cover. If somebody comes in and says, hey, we will buy it, we will keep the union jobs as is, I bet you the union will probably front that 50 million to the pension. Possibly. I could, again, speculative. I don't know. The 1 billion in debt, I can't answer that, but I do think your gut of it being bought up, like that's what I think is it's just going to be pennies on the dollar. Someone's just going to come in and then they're just going to work everything out in bankruptcy court.
Yeah, it's not the white knight then. It's kind of the dark knight though, because they waited until they went bankrupt.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I think it is. It's a smart business move, right? If you have the capital to purchase something like that, I mean, but there's also other companies out there who have said, hey, we're looking to buy still, right? Like I know, I'm not saying that Warner's going to buy them or anything like that, but Warner's been very vocal about the fact that they want to continue to buy. Who knows? This might be a, hey, let's build it out. We got the cap. We have the cash. We can do it. And if it's pennies on the dollar, I don't know. I just don't. From my perspective, I just don't see how somebody who has all the trucks, the trailers, the distribution networks, the
15,000 tractors. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see how that just like fucking goes away. I don't see how somebody who has a large bank account isn't like, let's fucking buy that up. Let's wait till the last minute. Let's see how low we can get it. And let's just go in and fucking buy it all.
Yeah. I mean, the government has an incentive to buy it because they do all their government contract bids. And so that's another thing too. If, if somebody had a list of all the government contract bids, they could just go in and say, hey, I know you're using yellow and now you have to rebid this. That would be a strategy. That's not something that we do, but that'd be a strategy.
Or the union could buy them and run them and show everybody how they could run a profitable company. Just saying.
There's a challenge to Mr. O'Brien there.
There's a challenge to him.
That is another thing too, is O'Brien at the union, and I don't know him, of course.
I don't know him
but he lobbed a bunch of headlines at Yellow and said it's not our job to have you run your company profitably and things like that. But I always read through that as like, and I run a business, our biggest expense is payroll by far, 85% or whatever it is. Like it's payroll, and so when you provide 22,000 of the 33,000 jobs as the Teamsters, you do have a huge impact on their profitability. And so there's always been that fight. The other thing, and the analogy would be that, UPS was the big brother, right? There's 450,000 Teamster employees there and only 30,000 for Yellow. And so because the fight was at the same time, going back to the video that I put out last summer, because they're all up at the same time, ABF was smart and got out of the fray and said, we'll just make a deal. But AVF made a deal where like they got to pay a lot more for labor and better hours, and the drivers will be real happy and ABF will be less profitable on that. So did UPS. They made a deal where like they pretty much gave the union what they wanted, and the Teamsters just used Yellow as a sacrificial lamb. That's my opinion. That's conjecture, but that's what it looks like unfolded. They said, hey, we're going to play so hard line with Yellow that UPS and ABF will have to accept our demands.
I can't argue that. I think that I'm not going to disagree with you by any stretch of the imagination. Again, and like I put this out there yesterday, I would welcome any rep from the union, the Teamsters, to come on this show and just talk about this. I'm not looking for any gotcha bullshit. I want to know. I just want to have a better understanding of the why, because, again, my personal perspective, at the end of the day, my dad was an owner out for a really long time. He was threatened by this organization numerous times throughout his career, the organization of the Teamsters. And they said, if you don't get on board, we'll bankrupt you. That's why they're not a fan of small business. All right, let's call it what it is.
Oh, exactly.
That's the shit that happened in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. And again, this is my personal experience with them and with them only. That's why I don't fuck with it, right? Because you can't say you're there for the working man, but then you tell the working man who's out on his own, we'll fucking bankrupt you unless you jump on our cause. You guys could probably tell by my language where I get it from, but my dad told them to kindly shove it up their fucking ass. And that's just where it is. But that's why I'm pro small business, right? Like that's why I'm anti AB5. I'm pro small business. I'm pro the little guy busting out on their own and fucking making of something for themselves. Cause that's what I'm doing right now. And that's what I'm going to do is I don't come from fucking money. I don't have a golden parachute. I just want to be paid and compensated based on my work and my merit and not the school project effect. Right. Cause that's what fucking the union is, right, Gabe? Me, you, and two other people could be on a project together, just like a school project. One of us does all the work. The other one does nothing. And two just kind of show up and we all get the same grade. I don't fuck with that. I don't fuck with that at all.
You get the same grade, and like it's altruistic to think that unions function perfectly, right? Because it does allow for the top of the class to carry the weight. And also, I don't know enough about unions to speak intelligently of it, but I know that you can't just fire a union worker for not showing up on time, and you can't just fire. Like, at its core, if one of my employees didn't show up for a week and didn't do their job, I would have to have corrective action. That's one thing that Yellow did not have that lever to pull, but not to blame the union either, because ABF and T-Force and UPS Freight are still running profitably and they have the same workers. And so it was up to Yellow to figure that out. I really think that if it's an economics lesson for like the history books, it's the single largest bankruptcy in freight that's ever happened. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it is. It's the largest single carrier to go out as far as top line revenue. And so I think it's twice the size of CF back in the day. So it's huge. It was mergers and acquisitions. There was 4 brands or 5 brands with Henry Logistics merged into one Yellow. And then it was a labor union fight in big corporation, and like all of that combined, mixed in with a pandemic driven freight increase, and then a little bit of a freight recession or pullback all at once. And so this should be studied and talked about for a long time and see if we could have done something differently. One thing I will say, I'm paying attention to this. When SVB went out, in March, Silicon Valley Bank, the executives at Silicon Valley Bank had sold off a bunch of stock and like got cashed out and everything. I will be watching to see the executives, the C-suite at Yellow, how long ago they knew that this was over. And all of this was a dog and pony show of like, we're negotiating, there's going to be a strike. No, extend this. It seems as though maybe they were just reacting in real time, but maybe there was behind the door or closed door conversations about like, this is a foregone conclusion. How do we wind it down and make it look like we tried? So,
well, the good thing is it'll all be released because it's public information because they're a publicly traded company. And if it is, they should all be sent to fucking prison because that is fraud at its finest. And again, like I said, in these situations, at the end of the day, I know that the union's just not going to go away, right? Like I'm not fucking ignorant. At the end of the day, it's those people who are out of jobs right now who are possibly going to lose their homes, the kids who now don't get birthday presents and all that shit because of this bullshit. I fucking hate that. But dude, we're already out of time. We gotta, you got shit to do. I got shit to do. Thanks for always joining me, man. And tomorrow is Q&A day, you guys. So I got a couple of people who DM me some questions. If you have any sales or operations related questions, DM them over to me. I'll answer them live on the show tomorrow. As always, if you guys got value, subscribe and share the show. You guys rank the show on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, you name it. That's how we grow. That's how we are the top shows, because of each and every one of you. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.